It is spring and that means cleaning, so welcome to the Broken Masterpiece. We are going to work on the outside of my home today. Our porch has been battered and bruised over the years and we want it to last, so we partnered with Defy Wood Stain on this project to give our deck a complete facelift. Now, normally hiring this out would cost anywhere from $4 to $6.50 a square foot, especially with all the steps that this entails. But Defy's wood stain kits come with this 3-stage system to make it easy so that you can do it yourself. If you don't own a pressure washer, borrow one from a friend. I borrowed one from my dad, and that is what we did first to get everything cleaned off. I pressure washed the entire deck all the way from the ceiling down to the floors, down to the white. There had just been a ton of pollen. We hadn't cleaned it for years this deep, and so using a pressure washer helps just get all the grime and grit, especially in between the boards. This squeegee tool that we used on our garage floor is the best thing to scrape stuff off your deck. So there was just some residual dirt kind of just sitting and puddling, and so using a squeegee brush helps get everything off. After cleaning off my deck, I used Defy's first product, which is the wood stain stripper. It works to strip semi-transparent stains really well, and they have a brush that fits inside a 5-gallon bucket to make application really easy by spraying or brushing it on. Most of these brushes do not fit inside the bucket, so that is amazing. If you have a sprayer, you can use that as well, but our sprayer was not working, and so I let this sit on for 15 to 25 minutes before pressure washing it off. It's really satisfying. Some spots were harder than others, as we did have a heavier stain on it than a semi-transparent. Even if you have new wood, it's important that you clean the surface with a wood cleaner. Our wood is quite a few years old and it already has a stain on it, so we needed the stain stripper. But they do sell a wood cleaner that will remove the mill scale that's been on the wood and open up the grain of the wood to receive the maximum amount of stain. And so make sure you use that product so that you do this right. Pressure washing my deck did take the longest time. I probably spent around 6 hours doing this, so you're in it for the long haul. Put on a podcast, put your headphones on, make sure you trade off if your back is hurting, like I traded off with my husband and my dad. They both pitched in to help. But this is the longest part of it. You are moving slow, and when you're using a pressure washer, you want to make sure not to damage the wood too much, and so you want to move consistently. If you stop and pause at a place, it's going to make some marks on it, but overall, our stain took really well, even when we did have a few marks on our wood. After every stage, I used soap and water to clean this brush to make sure that I could use it for the next application and nothing was sticking to it. Stage 2 is Defy's Wood Brightener. It neutralizes the pH balance from the stripper and brightens up the wood, preparing it for an even application of stain. Now, I forgot to follow the instructions and pour in the wood brightener at the end of filling up the 5-gallon bucket. I poured it halfway through, which made it sud like crazy, and so I just made a mess and then used the mop to pull that mess around my deck, and it worked great. If you don't have to strip your deck, I would still use the wood brightener after using their cleaning product because it's going to help brighten your deck, get off any residual mildew that's on it, and make sure that it's ready for stain. It's kind of like a pre-stain conditioner. Once you move it around on your deck and let it sit for a little bit, then you can rinse it off. You'll notice when you're rinsing it off just with your hose that all the bubbles are coming off the wood and going off of your deck. This isn't going to hurt your vegetation, but they did say to cover up any hardy plants that you have. We have literal dirt because our grass is struggling to grow. That's our next project. And so we rinsed it right off the deck. After letting everything dry overnight, we were super satisfied with the results, but we did notice so much damage from the dogs that we have. Our neighbors' dogs come in our yard, and I just wanted the whole thing resurfaced. So we rented this deck sander at Home Depot, and it was amazing. It's like $54 to rent, then you do have to pay for the sandpaper underneath, but it's really satisfying. It was very easy for my back. I was able to push it no problem. Lifting it, that was a job for my husband. But we went back and forth with a 120, cleaned off the deck, blew it off, and then went on with a 180. and then the deck was ready for stain. I've never used one of these before, but they are made for floors but also decks, as they're a little bit forgiving if there's any screws sticking out. Now you do want to screw those down because they will rip your sandpaper. You don't have to be an expert to use one of these tools. Underneath is just a sticky pad and a foam pad, and so you just apply the sandpaper to the pad and apply the foam to the abrasive underneath. It's that easy. Last step is the stain. We chose light walnut and the application was a breeze with this. They have a great brush made to cut in the edges, and I used the same yellow brush head mop that you can use to apply and wipe in the stain. This was the most satisfying part because you can get both coats on the deck within 15 minutes of each other. I got the whole deck done in 2 hours. Before beginning this process, the wood needs to be visibly dry. So if you're staining a deck and you have rails, start with the railings and the spindles first. I just had a flat deck, and so I could just start with the corners, making sure I work from the outside in. Once you do one section of the board, you can wait 15 to 20 minutes and then apply a second coat before that first coat dries. This is the most effective way to get both coats done within that 20-minute mark, so I just kept track of which boards I was doing and which boards were up next. After staining, we allowed the wood to dry for 24 hours before walking on it or moving our patio furniture back to the deck. We would have had to pay someone thousands of dollars to do this for us, so I hope this inspires you to DIY your deck. Using the right product like Defy's kits makes this process seamless and fun. They have an incredible variety of stains, and you can save 10% on yours with the code in the description below. If this was helpful for you, save and share this with a friend and follow for more DIY home projects and furniture flipping.